Ay, 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 what is going on? Dang it. Never heard of them. You have no idea what you're talking about. Well, we are 7 days, 168 hours, according to I used the calculator. I didn't do that on my own. Away from the big day, the big Saturday. So I'm doing something to this morning. I haven't done a podcast in a few weeks. So I'm doing something that I didn't think I would ever be able to do. I have a special guest, and that special guest is
me.
My sweetheart, the love of my life, is sitting in with me today. As we, like I said, a week away. It's hard to believe that we are a week away from a wedding. I was thinking this morning about how absolutely stressed out you and I are going to be a week from right now.
Yes, I'm going to be very stressed. I hope that I can just relax and enjoy the day, but I have a feeling it's going to be... Well, you just stress when there's big things like that, worrying that things will go according to plan.
Yeah, I didn't say it as we started because we've already had one meow, but we're sitting at the kitchen table doing it. We're not like normally in a room that I have here in my house that's kind of closed off, and we've got the screen door open. So you might be able to hear birds. Someone was really cool, like revving their engine just a few minutes ago. So who knows what you'll hear in the background. So it's kind of a neat setting. But yeah, back to what you were saying. I think one of the reasons why I was thinking about sitting down and doing this is you're right. You're going to be stressed and it's a big deal and you think it's a big deal, and it is a big deal, but like you don't want the worrying about all that stuff to take away from the fact of what it's about and like what you're doing. And
well, right. Cause I mean, in the end, all the meal and the drinks and the dresses and flowers and all that it doesn't matter. I mean, in the end, all that matters is the marriage itself.
Right.
And I think people tend to lose focus on that, like, because you're too busy planning and preparing
on that. You know, like you're worried about whether the tux got measured right. The day you and I went and got my tux measured, the person that was measuring it had to repeat himself 3 times to the person that was recording it, because it was like, and I think the perspective we obviously have, having done what we're going to do next Saturday, 31 years this year, you just can't get caught up in all that. And that's, because there are so many other things that you don't remember. Like, I don't know how my tux fit 31 years ago. I don't remember, I don't remember the little things. I do remember the things that we wished we would have done different, that we didn't just enjoy the moment. I guess the hope is with Brock and Hannah being older than we were. I don't know. Maybe we were, I don't know. You try to think, like, were you more worried about dumb stuff when you were 22 than you do when you're their age, or, pretty dumb back then? But I don't know. I know, we don't get into 31 years ago, but in terms of like the little things, but there's things we both wish we would have done different, and you definitely would have done different now if you were going to get married.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's just your personality too. I mean, Hannah's a planner, so she's worried about the details and all the little things. And I'm a planner too. So, I mean, she's like me in that way. Some people probably don't worry as much about that, but
yeah, I think at least when I think back to ours, it's just like you wish you would have just gone with the flow more and not like you had an idea of what it needed to be or what it had to be.
Yeah.
So, I know I always think back to that, or at least getting into that just a little bit though, is like I'm schmoozing with everybody that's there because we've invited 300 plus people, right?
At ours, yeah, I don't know, 250, 300, something like that.
Yeah, so I'm being me and schmoozing around, which is funny. Like that part of me is just me. It didn't change. It's like the kids getting on me when they were little, and we would, go somewhere, and I'd see somebody I knew, and next thing, and it's like, Dad, you have to talk to everybody all the time. Yep, that's kind of who I am. And that day we did that, and I just remember you talking about people that you invited, and you really never got a chance to visit with them.
Yeah.
And that's not what it's about, but it's like you have these preconceived, not you, everybody, me, of what that day is supposed to be. And then you spend all your time wanting to put it into that box, and then you're not enjoying yourself.
Yeah. That's one thing I definitely plan to focus more on. I mean, it's easier being the mother of the bride and not the bride, is just to get a chance to talk to people. Because, I mean, this is one of the few times that our entire family will be there together. I mean, we don't do that as much anymore. So
Right.
It will be nice just to be able to go around and visit with people. So I definitely plan to do more of that at her wedding than we did at ours.
Yeah. And because in that situation too, like when we got married, like everybody was there, like they're older now. So, obviously with your mom passing away a couple days ago and with my dad not being there, you're right. We don't get together, and your great grandparents and people like that too, so, and we were just talking before we started, like worrying about the weather 2 weeks out, 2 weeks ago, or trying to figure out what the weather's going to be like. And it's changed 4 times. And I mean, I guess the coach in me, even though it never works and I never do it, is you talk about controlling the control, like what can you control? And maybe that's why it's so stressful in a way, because you can't control the weather. You can't control that tux. You can't control whether the place did this right or that right. Yeah. And for you, that you don't like that.
No. So anybody listening, please pray for no rain on May 11th.
Even though, but it's one of those things though. But I mean, rain doesn't ruin a wedding. It doesn't ruin a marriage. Like that's the thing is
it doesn't.
You want it to be. This was so funny about a wedding
but
ceremony.
We just want a few outdoor pictures. That's all I ask.
Yeah. I'm just saying though. What does a perfect wedding doesn't make a perfect marriage, and just because everything doesn't go smoothly in the wedding ceremony and the reception doesn't mean the wedding is, we obviously had things that we went through when we got married at the wedding that didn't go smoothly the way we wanted them to go, and it didn't affect, the fact that we're sitting here 31 years later.
Right.
Because I remember thinking, I remember one thing I remember from our wedding is a friend of mine from high school who's your age, went to school with me. Those of you that listen to this that know, that if you're listening to this and you don't know our story, you don't know our relationship, I'm not going to get into it. But in terms of me being, falling in love with you when I was an 8th grader, even though we've known each other our whole lives, blah, 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 fast forward, like wanting to go out with you all through high school. And then finally getting to at the end, the summer between my junior and senior year, the shortened version, someone saying to me like, your story, this is a dream. This is like a movie. This is a dream, like who has what you have, like where you waited all that time and you got to go out. Now you're marrying the person that you fell in love with when you're a kid. Yeah. That's a great story, but like you've had to work hard over the years to make it work and whatever. So that's like, even that day, if there's a part of that day that didn't go well, that has had little to no effect on where we are sitting here 31 years later.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the things that aren't going to go well in the grand scheme of things don't matter anyway.
Right.
Like we said.
But it doesn't, but the funny thing is, it doesn't matter what kind of thing it is. It's always like that. Illini Central had prom last weekend. I'm sure there are people that are worried about this and it was really windy or this or that. And it didn't ruin the thing. I know graduation's 2 weeks from today. And I was thinking this morning, like, oh, I hope this part of the technology works. And I hope, if it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't mean nobody got to graduate, but you put pressure on situations and hope that things that something doesn't go wrong that makes you stress about it, but you're going to. But yeah, a week from today, we're going to be in the middle of it.
Yep.
Right in the middle of it. So it's going to be fun though. I was thinking too, the other thing we could talk about is, when Hannah was bored, it's just hard to believe how, you think back, because we as much as we talk about things, like I remember that morning, like she was how many days early?
8 days early.
She was 8 days early. So I remember laying in bed and you're getting up for whatever reason. And it's like 4 a.m. I'm sure it was. It was like
Yeah,
around.
look, I was having pains. And
Yeah, well, I
didn't know why.
but I didn't know that. But I was like, I just remember laying there, and I'm like, why are you getting up so stinking early? Like, what are you doing? And I say to you, I'm like, I was like, what are you doing? And you're like, I think something is going on. And I'm like laying there half asleep. I'm like, what could be going on? And by this point, you've got up and gone to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, then it hit me. And I was like, oh, that could be going on. And I was not prepared for that. So I guess talking about being nervous about next weekend, it wouldn't be anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, and then I remember turning on ESPN, and I remember the Lakers I didn't stay up and watch them. I don't know if I could have. I probably didn't have the opportunity to watch them. But I remember highlights because it would have been Shaq and Kobe, and they beat the Kings, surprisingly. Not, that's sarcasm. And I just remember thinking, I'm not prepared for this in any way, shape, or form. And not knowing that we were going to have a daughter,
Yeah.
as our neighbor starts mowing, so now we'll shut the door a little bit. We didn't know we were having a girl. We didn't know we were having a boy. We didn't know what we were in for. It was like old school, kind of the way that we both think it should be. No offense to anyone listening who's found out, but we didn't know. We didn't know at all.
No, not with any of them. No, I just remember after telling you I thought something was going on, then you get up and you take a shower. Like, what are you doing? Why are you taking time to take a shower? We need to get to the hospital.
Well, luckily we only lived just a few blocks away. I wanted to be clean and ready. I take a shower before I go to tasseling. I'd be dirty. When I was farming with my dad, I would take a shower before I went. I would take a shower, drive from Macomb to Table Grove, knowing I was going to get underneath the combine and get grease and dirt and soybean dust. Like I was going to be filthy in a minute, but that's just what I did. I don't remember that, but now that you say it, it completely doesn't surprise me that I did do that.
Yeah.
I just remember us getting around and we weren't. I can see us parking. I remember that. I remember leaving. I forgot a bag, we didn't bring a bag into the hospital.
Oh, you went and got back out and got it.
Yeah, I went back out and got it. But I think, but that's, yeah, she just mouthed. We have a way of just, not, this is too much information, but who cares? And the people who really know me well, but like my stomach, we call it my stomach dropped. I was like so nervous. I mean, I always joke, and I've told this to kids when I coach, more the boys. I don't think I've ever really talked about it to the girls because it's different. I'm like, if you think you're nervous about a basketball game, wait till someday your wife goes into labor and if you're fortunate enough to have that happen, you think you're nervous before this silly middle school boys basketball game, or whatever game it was, just wait till that moment. Because I've sat on the bench at a state championship game and was not as nervous as I was that moment. Like I was, what do I do? So at that moment, we didn't know that all these years later, we were going to be the parents of the bride. And because I think it's different. I assume we'll go through the other side of it, having a groom, our child being the groom.
Yeah, I think it's different though with a girl, mainly because we're the hosts of the wedding. With the boys, your duties aren't as elaborate as with the bride, but just different.
I guess your podcast goes to a different level when your cat is one of your cats, the one that's the quieter one, is now on the table rubbing his head on the microphone. But yeah, I'm going to assume that it's different because of that situation. And I'm walking her down the aisle. One of the boys you're going to walk with them, but it's just different
with both boys. Yeah,
it's just different. He's going to knock that over. Get down. But, I just, that part of it too. So even at that moment on November 5th, 1997, I did, it hadn't hit me yet. And in that moment, and in that we get in the room and Bob, fast forward a little bit, still don't know, and had made up my mind. I've told this story to many people. Like, I wasn't going to look down there when whatever child was being born. I was staying up by your head. I didn't want any part of the childbirth in that situation. And I was in such nervous shock that when the doctor, said that the baby's head was crowning, if I wanted to look, I just froze and did whatever he said. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I just looked at that. And even then I don't. And then we still, at that time, we didn't know what we were getting, and not getting all into the childbirth thing. It took a little bit of time. Things,
not really.
well, I mean, like in terms of, pushing and things like that.
Yeah.
But, and then he says it's a girl, and I immediately thought of a week from today. I mean, I thought of having a boyfriend and having a fiance. And I mean, I'm not joking. I literally thought of the dating side of it and the courtship, for a lack of a better term, side of it. Honestly, I'm not lying, in that moment.
Yeah.
And now here we say, so like when you say, do you have planned what you're going to say? I don't know what the heck I'm going to say for sure. Cause
I think
I've had all those years to figure that out.
I think that should bring us though to the fiance that get down. Hannah's fiance Brock is a wonderful man. I mean, we couldn't have picked a better one for her. They did meet online, which I was not a big fan of at the get-go, but that just seems to be the norm these days.
Yeah.
But it worked out wonderfully. They're great friends, and that's what you need in a marriage.
Yeah, I mean, and we've joked, and she'll love it if she listens to this. Like, he can put up with her, so he's got to be some sort of special. And then he's already built some sort of relationship with her two boneheaded brothers. So, he's got to be a winner if he's able to do those things. So,
right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that's what you hoped for, because that's what I thought even in that moment, all those years ago, that 27 years ago, going to be 27 in November, that's what she would end up with. And she has, and yeah, that part of it'll be definitely be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, in that moment, 27 years ago, we had no idea, how things would go, and here we sit. So, because in life, you think you're going to have all these different milestones, and this is one of them that you think you're going to go through.
Yeah.
And
or you hope you do.
Yeah, you hope you do. And then now here you are, 168 hours away from it. And it's been, and you've done a good job, because like I said a minute ago, your mom passing away, a couple of days ago. You've had a lot going on, a lot of, this is how life goes. You got good things and you got bad things, you got tough things, and you just got to keep going and stay positive and keep things in perspective. I talk a lot to people that I'm close to at school about keeping things into perspective, and you've done a great job of it through all this. And
yeah, it's been stressful. Definitely a roller coaster of emotions. But I also believe that, when you've got something bad happening, at least I've got that good thing to look forward to lift me up too. Yeah.
And like we were saying, your mom wasn't going to be able to go to the wedding.
No.
And your dad wasn't going to be able to go to the wedding because of, how bad she was.
Yeah. He wasn't going to leave her.
Yeah. So now he's going to get to go, and she's going to get to be there too.
Right.
And, I think that's, it could be a kind of a teary thing, but in a way, I don't know, maybe it's because of the, your mom was 82 and things hadn't been good. It's a positive thing. And even like, I think back to when my dad passed, it's why it's just a different kind of mourning, because, God, guys, you've had a good run, great life, great family. Like we said yesterday, your mom was a great mom, and you're going to get the opportunity then to do for your daughter this coming week and weekend what she did for you 31 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an emotional roller coaster for you, and you've rode it well. Really done a good job getting through all of it. So, I guess one of the other thing I was thinking about when we were talking about it was just, I hope that they can look back on this coming week and weekend and not have those things where they regret the fact that they took this too seriously, or they didn't take that. I think when you get to be our age, with us both being 53, that's what you want. I mean, I don't have a lot of regrets. You don't have a lot of regrets in life. I mean, we obviously have some, but for the most part, I'll say this. I don't know if we have a lot of regrets in the last 10 years of our lives. Like you're a lot smarter than me, but we've figured things out, and we have a good perspective on things.
Yeah.
And I hope that we've, at least on some level, we haven't known Brock as long, but I hope that she's learned that from us. Cause that's the thing you and I have talked about, is she is 5 years older than she's, I'm saying she'll be 27, but she's roughly 5 years older than we were when we got married. And we've talked to you about when we think back to how the age that my mom was when she got married, I'm not saying anything.
She was what, 18?
Yeah. And if you're anybody listening to this and you got married young, I'm not saying that, but I would assume you would admit that more, you were hopefully smarter at 25 than you were at 18. I was joking with some people at work the other day. Like, I thought I was pretty smart. I thought I was real smart at 22. And then 5 years later, you're like, you were stupid. And then 5 years after that, you're like, wow, you were stupid. And there's even at 53, there's times I look back at what I thought was right at 50, and I was stupid. And I'm going to do that probably again. Yeah. But hopefully the amount of that has minimized over time.
Yeah. I think, you never stop learning, obviously, but I think the younger you are, the more you have to learn. So,
yeah. And even, because I've said, I didn't go through a lot of tough times when I was a kid. I look at a lot of the kids that I work with at the school that had it way tougher than I've ever had it. And they are infinitely wiser. Hopefully some of them are, than what I was, because I didn't have a whole lot of stuff. Didn't deal with a whole lot of loss. And, nobody put bumps in my road, and nobody put bumps in our kids' road. You and I didn't make life harder for them by our choices, for a lack of a better way of saying it. So that's the other thing, is I'm glad in a way that she's a little bit older, because she's had to go through some stuff, like, school not going the way she wanted it to go. And some of it, self-inflicted, like, issues that we've had and I've caused for myself. So I'm hoping that maybe that'll help. And it's funny. I can think of some people I know, they probably wouldn't listen to this, but would say, well, you should be telling this to your daughter. Well, I do know that if she would listen to it, she'll listen to me, but she's also just as bullheaded as we are. Mm-hmm. So, you hope that she stops and thinks, and maybe we will have that momentary talk between now and 168 hours and 7 days from now. But it's going to be fun, whatever happens. And another one of those life experiences that I'm sure with the both of us, we've always got stories, and something will happen that we will laugh about, and we will enjoy and look back on. And that's one of the things that I'm glad I'm doing it with you, is we always just find a way to do that. There's always something. Yeah. There's always something. And then when you throw those 3 knuckleheaded kids and 1 cat on the table again into it, you're going to have that situation. So, well, I'm glad that you sat down with me. Looks like about 25 minutes. That's a nice podcast size. I guess one of the things before we go, the last thing, we're sitting here doing dishes, you're eating breakfast, getting ready for the day. and I got my favorite songs ever playlist playing, which has like 2,000 songs on it. Whatever, doesn't matter. I mean, that's immaterial. And so it's random, no control over it. Do you remember what the last song that fully played before we started was?
No, I wasn't even paying attention.
You were I look out of the corner of my eye though, and you're not tapping your foot, your legs crossed. You're swinging your top foot. From the Beatles.
I don't remember.
All You Need Is Love.
Oh.
Was the song that played. Isn't it funny? I mean, that's the kind of thing that I know I know a person who's a contrarian. I'm just saying, as it goes out, all you need is love. All you need is love. It just keeps saying that, at the end of it. And then they go into the verse of one of their other songs. She loves you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just funny that those things, it makes you think, because that is exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
That's the theme of this whole thing.
Oh, yeah. That's all that matters in the end. That's all that matters.
Yeah. It's all that matters. So
was that 2 weeks ago? We met with my aunt and uncle. My uncle's performing the wedding ceremony, God willing, because he's been in the hospital here recently. But they asked me if I had any words of advice for Hannah and Brock while we were sitting there, and I tell this to any couple getting married, is that love is a choice. It's a daily choice, not just a feeling. And that's what you've got to remember every day, because some days you don't feel it,
What are you saying? Are you saying that I'm not lovable?
You know what I mean.
You're saying I'm not lovable every day?
I'm not lovable every day.
No, I know that. That's documented fact. But
it's a choice you have to make every day.
Right? Yeah.
Every day.
No, you're exactly right. You're right.
Sometimes every moment.
Because I mean, that's a choice. Being positive is a choice. Because it's the whole life is a good thing. No, like you just lost your mom 2 days ago. That's not what people consider good. But there's people that would have given anything to have a mom like yours for as long as you did.
Yeah.
There's somebody out there that hasn't had the experience that you had. And here we go. We're swinging back in again to go longer. But yeah, you're right. In Hannah and Brock's relationship, they're going to have to love each other in the times that it's not easy.
Yep.
And that's a good thing. And all you do really need is that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you sat down with me. If you listened, I hope you enjoyed it. I always say, what do we know? I don't know. Maybe we know nothing, but maybe you needed that. Maybe you listened to it and you needed that, or maybe you didn't think about this or whatever. And if that's the case, then I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad you listened. So thank you for sitting down with me. I love you. And she doesn't love me because she didn't say it back.
I love you too.
Okay. All right. So I guess she does when she's prodded into saying it. So I hope you enjoyed listening. You
totally threw me off. I didn't think I don't know. I didn't
you
realize
didn't know how I was going to end.
I didn't realize you were talking to me. I thought you were talking to the listeners.
All right. So everybody out there that listened, I love you too. My listeners, I love you too. I love my wife. And don't forget, I'm being completely serious. And no matter how many people make fun of you for thinking it, saying it, life is really good. Take care. Why are you still up on the table, rubbing your head on the microphone? See ya.